welcome to the show. How did you get into this?
It was super unexpected. That's why I love the title of the show.
And I say, man, if they can do it, I can do it.
I got to figure out how to spell that damn word if I'm going to call myself an entrepreneur.
I still can't. It's so funny.
My father was selling knishes and sold my mom a knish.
That's amazing. What a sale.
You had red hair for about the first 20 minutes I knew you, and then it went gray.
Welcome to the Unexpected Entrepreneur Podcast Show. So honored and grateful that you were able to join us. Today's guest, Gary DeMauro, is a longtime network sports camera operator with 8 Emmy Awards, and he has over 40 years of experience. Not only is Gary one of my best friends, but he's one of the nation's top camera operators. Gary shoots news, sports, and entertainment for networks such as NBC Sports. Welcome to the show, Gary.
Thanks, Howie. I appreciate it. I'm thrilled to be here.
It's an honor for you to finally join me on the podcast, and I want to dive deep into your career, what got you started, what drives you, soup to nuts, everything. So first, tell our audience, and keep in mind, we're helping inspire the younger generation to get into the business. What got you started in television and sports TV?
Well, for me, it was a lot of things. One thing would be my dad. My father actually had an 8mm camera and was shooting early on and developing film. And I picked up the camera when my dad was a lawyer that turned into a judge. And I picked up the camera after he was done using it and would start shooting some time-lapse stuff. And I kind of got a feel for the wonders of framing shots and making things look good, and also editing film, time-lapse, and changing some things around and kind of moving things around a little bit. Another thing, that I went to my school in Ohio. I went to Ohio University, and I went for a tour of the TV department. And I went through the studio. I went to, and I just saw talent, the studio, and I felt that that's something that I wanted to do and that I probably would like the rest of my life, instead of, not picking a career that maybe I wouldn't like, but I'd still do good in, or that I'd make money in. It's not always about money, Howie? So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a similar story. I fell in love with TV back in high school. I knew exactly what I wanted to do by just taking one class. So I totally understand.
Yeah, I fell in love with the business. I love my business, and I always want to walk out of there at the end of the night and feel that I gave 100%, and that we had a good show. And I know we've been on some of those shows together, and I know you know that feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. What was your path to get to where you are now? So you went to college ultimately for television. So what was your path? How did you get into the business? I knew what I wanted to do. I started out in working in a small production company and got into news, but I had no idea how to get into sports TV. What was your path?
Well, my path in the getting into the professional business would be I started with local sports, Long Island Sports Network, on a small production truck. I moved on from there to news and started shooting news, which was a little more dramatic and real. I saw some things that really I wouldn't want anybody to see in their lifetime. It was local news, and basically I saw some good things, but I saw a lot of not such great things during shooting news. I moved on from News 12 to ABC. Then I went to ABC, and I started shooting town meetings and stuff. I was working with Peter Jennings and doing election coverages and large town meetings about, back then it was the Iraq War, and we were covering a lot of big news events back at that time. And then after I went to ABC, then I shot a little ENG, electronic news gathering, and taught people. They taught me. Through the time of me going through my path, I met many youngsters and tried to show them what's right and wrong in this business and how to create and be respected in the business. And at the end of the day, if you come out of there and you've done a good job and you show up on time, then most likely people will look at you and hire you again.
We have some. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
And some other places after CNN. Then I did Wide World of Sports, Monday Night Football, which was a while ago. I don't know. I did election coverage. I did debates. I did some large town meetings, I told you. And I worked at MLB Network. And, my path to where I got to today was a very interesting one, Howie, that I met so many people to get me to where I was today. And they gave me the platform to actually do camera work and be where I am today. And I appreciate that from a lot of people out there, and they know who they are.
I know one of your Emmy Awards was for shooting local news for the Avianca plane crash, which must have been, an experience that's not even describable. But what was, how did that affect your career? Did it make you want to get out of news? And I asked that because I remember I shot news and I had to shoot a car accident, and that was like, it hit too close to home, and that's when I said I'm done with news.
Well, I remember I worked with this intern over at News 12, and they took the ride with me up to that plane crash, and it was brutal. It made me decide to get out of news, actually, Howie, and do more sports because I didn't want to be doing that the rest of my life and seeing tragedy all the time. But anyway, it was a plane crash that happened up in Cove Neck, Long Island. And I took a back road up there and got there quick. And we got to the scene very early. And we heard on the radio on the way up there. And I'll never forget that intern. I said, prepare, this is going to be pretty bad. Because at first they said it was a small plane, but in fact it was a 727, which is a very big plane. And it landed up in Cove Neck, and it landed right by John McEnroe's parents' house. They actually used their tennis court as a triage center for the tragedy that had happened. But I'll never forget walking up the hill, Howie, with that intern and explaining to them that this doesn't happen every day. This is a big thing. Planes don't fall out of the sky. It turns out that the plane ran out of gas. And when I got up there, Howie, there was still a lot of people alive and walking around in the woods that actually survived. And it was a very, very eerie situation.
I'm sure.
But
sorry?
I learned from it, though.
I'm sure you did. I learned tremendous amount from my news experience. And that's what, why I segued into the sports side of things. We have some footage of you shooting, I think it's at Madison Square Garden, possibly a hockey game, Gary Cam. Just tell our audience what they're seeing, kind of.
Basically, I go in, I work with a bunch of colleagues who are as good, if not better than me. And I come in and shoot warm-ups here. We're looking at warm-ups to me. And basically we go in, and everybody at home who watches hockey knows that angle pretty well. It's off to the side, and we shoot, we shoot the game from the side with hard cameras and handheld cameras. And I know you know that, and I hope you viewers do. They've probably seen it if they've watched hockey and or basketball and or football. You've seen some of that work come right into your living room.
Right. explain to our audience what it feels like to have your footage used on a replay.
Well, amongst our peers, you try to play it off like it's not a big deal, but it really is a big deal. When
It's
your
totally a big
colleagues
deal.
and when you get a replay that just catches the moment, whether it be a reaction shot, a goal, a touchdown, if you got the replay and you actually shouldn't be looking at return, which means you're looking at the shot at that given moment, you shouldn't be watching it.
101,
But if
right?
you do get
Right.
that look, it is such a great feeling to know
Yep.
that you had the perfect framing of the shot coming right at you. And it could go bad. It could go bad. Howie, you know that it's not 100%. I mean, you might get 80, 90% of the shots. And as you become better at what you do, maybe you'll get a better percentage of those shots.
Right.
I love my work, and, I like teaching people what I do. I don't think that's a problem. I really care about this business. So I think teaching youngsters and bringing kids into my world is very important for this business to exist later when I'm not here or whatever,
Yeah, that we have the age of the freelancers is getting up there. So we need to train the younger generation of TV professionals to kind of take the reins and take over. And we actually offer a course to help do that and to help mentor the younger generation. So yeah, absolutely, I applaud you for doing that. I know you were a part of that, so thank you. So I mentioned at the beginning that you've been doing this for 40 years, and you show up like a 20-year-old every single time, doing your job, taking charge. What drives you to show up and give 200% night after night in a very physical, demanding job, physically, emotionally and physical? Cameras are heavy, handheld cameras are heavy. What drives you?
A lot of things. I think for me, Howie, it's that at the end of the night, you spoke about it earlier, is that feeling of doing a good job with your peers. And all my peers who we've worked with over the years have, one way or another, driven me to be a better person and be a better, photographer, video, be better at what I do. I mean, some of the mentors that I've worked with have just showed me how important it is. But for me, Howie, to come in and work the way I do, and you know how I work,
Absolutely.
it's because I want to come in and I want to do a good job every single day. I want to be able to teach what I do. And I want to be able to learn from the best and be better at what I can do. And I really do think I can learn something every single day, Howie. Like, there's no end. I think when I'm 93, I'll still be learning something in our business on what we can do better.
That's a great piece of advice for young listeners, right? If you go throughout life and you think that you're going to stop learning, that's a mistake. And then, because if you stop learning, you stop growing. So you got to continue to learn every day. That's
That's something I learned from my father, is that you keep learning, you always learn. You can never stop learning. And I take that to heart. I really do.
No, your dad was totally right.
Yeah.
What were some of the favorite places, because I know you and I have traveled the world together. You've traveled the world doing sporting events. What are some of the favorite places that you've been doing this job?
Well, we've done a lot of Olympics, so we've been to a lot of places. I would say probably London, and we went with all our colleagues. Your guest last week, Kenny Wu. Some of my mentors, Nick Utley, James Mansfield. I mean, these guys really, if you just walk behind them and watch what they do, most likely you're going to do something right the next time around. You know what I mean? Which is exactly what it's all about, Howie.
Yep.
So, I think the best place I went to probably, Howie, was London. And the theme we had for that was all you need is love. It was the All You Need Is
Right.
Love tour. And because it was in London and the Beatles have so much to do with London, excuse me, that was 2012. We would have meetings and we would listen to, Beatles music, and we would inspire ourselves on going out for 2 weeks, because the Olympics is 2 weeks, and putting out the best product every single day. And that's not easy, because it's 2 weeks, and it could get stale after a few days, or get better or worse. But catching that one moment, that one reaction of an athlete winning, you got to be on the top of your game, because you could miss that in a jiffy second, and it happens. So, the other thing, I guess a close second would be Vancouver, Howie, would be the best place I traveled to, Vancouver. And, I would say Vancouver would be probably the second favorite place.
So your favorite events from a shooting standpoint would definitely be the Olympics, you'd say?
I would say my favorite events would be some of the Olympics, but also the 1994 Stanley Cup. Maybe when the Rangers won the Stanley Cup was probably one of my more favorite things that I've ever done.
You were on the ice with Wayne Gretzky, weren't you?
Yes. Yeah. That's the 94 Olympics. And then the day after, we had a show up there, and they had, I'll never forget it. We had to show up there next day for a team photography picture after the Rangers won the Stanley Cup. And first of all, they never went to sleep. Not one of the players went to sleep. And, I mean, it was something. To see these guys on the ice after not going to sleep, they were a mess, and so was I, because we were there till 2, 3 in the morning. And my assignment the night of the Stanley Cup was I was up by the Wives Lounge, and Mark Messier, I'll never forget, he walked in with the Stanley Cup, and he had the Stanley Cup over his head, Howie, and he took the cup, and he was walking into where the wives were, and he took the cup, and he treated it like it was a piece of garbage. He opened up the door with it and hit the turnstile to the door, and the door popped open. I was on the other side of the door with the camera, and all the wives were there, just going nuts, because they hadn't seen the players, and all the players were behind him, and it was quite the scene. And that was the moment, that was one of the times when I thought that catching that moment right then is something that's kind of important, and don't turn your back, because you could miss it.
Right.
And you could be right in, that's about it on as far as the best places the best events I've done, Hal. One of the worst events I did was that Avianca plane crash, but with the good, there's bad. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Talk about telling a story with your camera. I know a director that we used to work with, John Gonzalez, we traveled the world, would always say, make a movie, step right or left to get the better shot, or put the camera on the ground or over your shoulder. Talk about how you go about doing it.
I don't forget that moment that John Gonzalez, one of my mentors, looked at us and said, you know what? If you move over to the left or right just 1 inch, and you look at the background, and he was absolutely right. He was meticulous when it came to that stuff. And he would come out to the field, and he would look at every single corner, nook and cranny, every cable. And he said, if you took that one step to the left, Howie, I don't have to tell you, it would change the whole entire background, and maybe you'd see the mother in the background crying of the athlete, or something that is just more compelling than just the shot. You know what I mean? You may see something over the shoulder. So, you're telling a story with your camera. I mean, basically, that reaction, and I talk about living in the moment, that reaction right then and there, Howie, that you're looking for, whether it be a jockey, whether it be a hockey player, whether it be a football player who just missed his coverage, so he's the GOAT. You need to be there for that moment. And in live sports, which is different than entertainment, you can do a retake. But in live
Right.
sports, you need to be right there and then for when that jockey goes nuts and throws his flowers up in the air, or when the hockey player is in your corner and looks out on the glass to the kid who's right next to me after he shot a goal. Or you know what I mean, Howie? That the one shot and you're telling the story, the one shot
Right.
that makes the hair stick up on the back of your neck because even you know it was a good shot.
Absolutely. Talk about the business side. You know, this is a podcast based on entrepreneurialism, being an entrepreneur. Talk about the business side of TV, how you go about selling yourself. So, especially the younger audience listening, you know, what advice can you offer on that side?
Work the phone. In my business, it's a freelance world. Now, if you're working in an office 9 to 5 and you're not a freelancer, then you don't have to create some work for yourself. But in the freelance TV world, my colleagues, myself, and every craft around me works the phone. They get on the phone. They tell the crewers in a courteous way when your availability is. You know, when you're going to be available the next week, when you're going to be available the next year. I mean, and be honest with them and forward, and you know, and you have to learn the business. I mean, you also have to learn how to do your invoicing. You don't have a secretary working for you, so you have to go out
Right.
as a youngster and you have to invoice every single job you do. You have to know how to do it. You have to learn now with the pandemic. There's all sorts of ways to get into these venues that are unheard of. Apps, they turn us upside down basically before we get into the venue, and you know, basically, you know, knowing how to do all that and the business end of it is very important, Howie, and you have to learn that. And I think it's a very important thing. And how else do I do it? Is, you know, I show up. I am on time. I wear show black. I'm not told to do these things. I know to do these things. I wear a Leatherman. I wear tools. I bring tools. You know, there's little things that are important that other colleagues see around you, and it's important to me anyway. You know, Howie.
Yeah, you show up prepared early and focused, and that's how you succeed not only in this business but no matter what business you're in. Besides, I know we talked a little bit about having mentors. Besides John, who else? Who else would be a mentor to you early in your career?
I have many. I would say probably I mentioned John Gonzalez. I mean, he's definitely a mentor of mine. I mean, he came in. One thing that intrigues me about a lot of these directors is, and John being one of them, is they come in and they're very thorough and meticulous about what makes camera. They look at every aspect of what's going to be out there. And I learned from that over the years. Some of my other mentors would be like Louis Rojas, rest his soul. Louis
Yeah,
Rojas taught me how to build a camera. He built the camera in front of me. Then he took the camera apart, a hard camera. And then he stood in the corner and said, put it back together. And I did. And then he critiqued me on it. And one handle wasn't tight enough. And I learned from him. And I learned from him that I should teach. Because I shouldn't just be taught. I need to also give back and teach. And I think that's an important
absolutely.
thing in this business. And I hope some of the younger guys that I helped, or even just had a word with and just helped or whatever, or told them where the loading dock was, whatever, that they understood that I was there to help them. You know what I mean? So, um,
Absolutely.
so you know, some of my other mentors would be Roger Goodman from ABC News, Drew Esikoff. You know, he does Sunday night and Thursday night football. I mean, he's awesome. I've done horse racing with him. He's very meticulous at what he does. He's thorough, and he makes sure it's done right. and I really
Right.
appreciate that when we're working, Howie. Joel Mendelbaum, he's my director over at the Islanders. Pete Stendel, Dave Hagen. These guys all taught me. They taught me, and I'm always learning, and I can still learn from them.
Right. No, I totally agree. That's great. Yeah, my list of mentors is long as well, and like you, I hope I've been able to help other people, and we'll continue to help other people. So for over 20 years, you and I traveled, the world together like road wives. That's our joke, right?
Yes.
Any favorite stories that you have of us together?
I remember we did wrestling in the Olympics once, and the Netherlands boys, Flo and Simon. I came out of the venue, and we were skedoodling out of there pretty quick, and I couldn't find my backpack. And I'm looking, where is my backpack? I know I left it in the truck right there. I know it was there. And I'm looking and looking. And the two guys from the Netherlands, which is another story, Howie, that, dealing with people in other parts of the world is also
Absolutely
a learning experience, because I'm learning from them. They're learning from me on how they do their side of the TV. And you learn different techniques, and you learn younger guys. I mean, you meet younger guys from other countries. Well, anyway, to finish the story, I was wondering where the backpack was. They put it on the mast of their truck, which was about 200 feet up in the air. And I looked up, and they tied it up. I forget what I did to them for them to do it. They were just horsing around. And humor is also a big part of our business. You got to have a little fun. I mean, you got to put a smile on your face. You got to get through the day. And, that's one of the stories. I know we have many, Howie. I know we went up to the Great Wall in China. And the way we came down from the Great Wall of China from the Olympics was on a what was it?
This
like a
toboggan.
sled?
Yeah,
it was a
sleds.
toboggan. And we went up the wall. We walked up, but on the way down, we took toboggans down, and it was a blast. I'll never forget that.
It was.
They were yelling at us not to
so
take
hot.
pictures, and we were taking pictures on the way down. Maybe we couldn't have done
Absolutely.
that. I mean, I have many stories with you, Howard. Do you have any?
Yeah, no, the China one stands out. Absolutely. The XFL, Jim Bragg, Logo to the Tron, all those,
I know. Those are the early days. I mean, I remember spinning wheels. You always make fun of me about spinning wheels. I mean, you guys are looking to get out of there, and I'm spinning a wheel at a action sports store, and just getting a shot of the wheel spinning that maybe the director wanted for a graphic shot or something like that. And I don't know. It's just like I feel like I do like my work, and I do like the people we work with, Howie.
Absolutely. If you don't like it, then why bother doing it, right?
Right.
Gary, it's been an honor to have you on the show. I can't thank you enough. Happy holidays to you and Gina. And that last picture that you saw was of you and Gina.
Your wedding.
Jenny and I's our wedding. So glad that you guys were able to be there. And again, honored and grateful that we've been able to spend all these years together and that you were here today. Have a great holiday season. And thanks again, Gary.
Happy holidays, everybody. Thank you, Howie. I appreciate it.
You got it. Well, thanks again to our guest, Gary DeMauro, 40-year veteran of the television sports broadcast business. The Unexpected Entrepreneur Show is brought to you by the team at Veridity Entertainment. Veridity Entertainment offers live streaming and event planning services. We help provide customized live streaming for professional in-house productions, and it breaks down the barrier between your company, its audience, and putting together everyone in the same virtual room. Are you worried about your social platform changing your algorithms, therefore not allowing your followers to see your content? Watch this to see how VES can help solve that problem.
Why let any social media platform control the ads on your content? Constantly evolving algorithm changes can have a huge negative impact on your following. All you need is your own content network, and Veridity Entertainment Services, VES, can help you create that. Content delivery has never been so easy and powerful. Our state-of-the-art technology can help you create an amazing private labeled experience. We create virtual or hybrid events and corporate meetings with guests from around the world to take your content to the next level. Control, elevate, and own your own content.
For watching. Happy holidays, and we'll see you next week.